Hello, my name is Emma. I'm a voice teacher and I teach vocal feminization
and masculinization
from speech to singing, and I host public workshops, modules, and lessons on Singuistics. Singuistics is an online Discord community with all sorts of completely free voice resources, from public shoutable lessons to workshops and practice lounges. Feel free to check that out in the description. If you'd like to support me, I also have a Ko-Fi account in the description, and you can also use that to get voice feedback from me, which I will talk more about towards the end. In this video, I'm going to be talking about one way that you can increase the amount of space in your vocal tract. These methods will work for anyone, regardless of whether or not they have been on testosterone. So before I get into the how for lowering the larynx, first I'm going to explain the why. So why do we want to lower the larynx? So in a simplified model, there are two main factors that go into the perception of vocal gender. One, the length and volume of the vocal tract. The larger the vocal tract, which is the space from the vocal folds to the mouth,
the darker something will sound.
The smaller the size of the vocal tract, the brighter something will sound. Then there's the thickness of the vocal folds. Longer and thicker vocal folds tend to produce lower pitches. However, in addition to the decrease in pitch, they result in a heavier, buzzier sound quality. It is the combination of these two factors that result in a voice being perceived as masculine or feminine.
So a longer vocal tract and thicker vocal folds result in a voice that is perceived as more masculine.
When people assigned male at birth go through endogenous puberty, the larynx gets bigger, descends, and their vocal folds get longer and thicker. These are the same properties that I mentioned before. When we're modifying our own voices, what we're essentially doing is emulating the physiological effects caused by testosterone, but through behavior. If you are on testosterone or plan on taking it, something that you may want to keep in mind is that the thickness of your vocal folds typically increases. The shape of the vocal tract may not change as much. This results in what many people refer to as T-flu.
And it often results in a vocal quality that is similar to this. If this is what your voice sounds like and you'd like to change it,
lowering your larynx and increasing the amount of space in your mouth can help with this.
This video will cover larynx height, but I will go over mouth space and mouth shape in another video. However, I do go over it briefly in my Transmasculine Voice as Fast as Possible video, so check that out if you haven't already. Keep in mind that if your goal is to have a passing masculine voice, that lowering your larynx in and of itself isn't necessarily enough to fully get you there. You will also typically need to modify your articulation and vocal weight, particularly if you are early on T or do not plan on taking testosterone. So if you are early on T or non-T or pre-T, it's really important that you also work on modifying your vocal weight and mouth space. There are a few different methods that we can utilize to lower the larynx. The first method that I'm going to discuss is utilizing the small dog, big dog exercise and its variations. With the small dog, big dog exercise, we can start by imitating the pants of a Chihuahua and then the pants of a bigger dog like a Labrador. Then you can take the panning sound and do a phonation test on a vowel. Try going between different vowels. I forgot to mention this in the original recording, but it's really important that when you're doing the dog pants, that you also do the phonation test. The phonation test is when you take the sound and then propel yourself onto a vowel with it. So if you go those are both examples of doing a phonation test. Sometimes it's beneficial to hold them out a little bit longer before speaking afterwards, just so you can, really ground yourself in that lower larynx coordination, and then you can try and speak afterwards.
How, hit, ham, who, and then you want to try and maintain that configuration. And if you don't like the way that this sounds, keep in mind that when you add vocal weight to it, it will sound drastically different. So I'm demonstrating with a low vocal weight so that you know what this sounds like in isolation. You want to try and maintain the lower larynx as you continue speaking. You'll be able to tell that you've started to lose your larynx height if your larynx begins to raise and
your voice starts to sound brighter and more feminine.
if you're having issue distinguishing if you're doing it or not, or if you're losing the configuration over time, try to listen back to your voice from a recording to better help you identify when you lose that configuration and any other errors you might be making.
There's other variations of this drill that you can use that essentially accomplish the same thing. One of them being a whisper siren, so you go,
oh, now I'm speaking.
you can also use whisper slides, so you can go, whisper, whisper,
Whisper, whisper, whisper, whisper, whisper, whisper, whisper, whisper.
Again, these are all basically just variations of the exact same exercise. And then moving on to the last method is yawning. Basically, you yawn and try and keep the vocal quality that you get during the yawn.
Now I'm speaking with a yawn in my voice, and you can hear that my voice now sounds darker.
You may experience some minor discomfort when you first start doing this exercise, and that's okay at first. You are accessing a new coordination that you are not used to using, and so it might feel a little bit uncomfortable. If it does feel painful, though, that is a sign that you should stop, should take a break, and try again with these exercises later. It's also worth pointing out that voiceless exercises like small dog, big dog, and whisper sirens do tend to cause the vocal folds to dry out a little bit faster. So when practicing this, you may want to drink more water beforehand. Once you have gotten the configuration down fully, you can start to practice doing it without the drill. However, you don't want to do this too soon. Otherwise, you may end up developing bad habits and getting more strained. So do not be afraid to refresh yourself with larynx height drills as a beginner. All right, that concludes this video on larynx height. If you would like to support me, please feel free to check out my Ko-Fi page where you can donate to support my work or request detailed voice feedback from me. So please feel free to check that out. If you found this video helpful, I highly recommend checking out the Linguistics Discord server, where we have tons of free voice resources in the form of public shadowable voice lessons, workshops, and modules. Another way you can help out is by rating, leaving a comment, and subscribing to my channel, all of which are actions that will make my video more likely to be shown to other people in YouTube's algorithm. Alright, I guess that is everything. Goodbye!